What's up everyone, Ronnie here, and today I'm here at Lowe's Extreme Air Sports, a gymnastics, flipping, parkour gym to help you learn how to start learning flips. Now, the hardest part of learning flips is actually the getting started part because they're scary, they're difficult, they take a lot of practice, and they can be dangerous. And so I'm going to teach you some general tips to help you get started learning flips so that you can do it safely, some basic techniques that apply to most flips in general, and then other ways that you can continue to practice and train to improve your flips. Now remember, flips can be very dangerous if you don't learn them correctly. So I strongly recommend that you learn them at a gymnastics gym or a similar gym type facility where you can find padding, foam pits. All those things are going to be the most optimal way for you to learn flips. Or if that's not available to you, I would strongly recommend that you at least have some sort of padding that you're able to use to practice on. I personally practiced on an old mattress in my backyard when I first started, and sometimes I'd pile up blankets and pillows if I felt like I needed a little bit more cushion. So you can get creative, just make sure that you find a safe way to do it. Worst case scenario, if you don't have any padding available, you have other natural options such as water, jumping into swimming pools, or sand is a little bit softer than hard ground. I wouldn't recommend learning flips on sand, but it is something you can practice flips on because it can be softer, as well as snow piles. I've done big flips into giant piles of snow before, and if done correctly, it can actually absorb a lot of the impact doing flips. And then finally, as a last resort, grass is another option, but I wouldn't recommend learning on grass or some of these surfaces because it can be dangerous if you don't know what you're doing yet. So when getting started, make sure you have a safe environment and have padding to land on. The next safety tip I would recommend is that you have a friend with you. Learning with friends can make flips fun, and it can make it safer because you can help each other by giving each other advice from what you're watching each other do, and you can also help spot each other, which is where you assist someone in learning the flip to make sure that they aren't going to land on their head or in some way that can lead to a serious injury. Now, before actually attempting the flips, I would strongly recommend that you learn the basic techniques for flips. Watch some tutorials on YouTube. I have dozens of tutorials that you can learn on my own YouTube channel, and if I don't have some on there, you can search on YouTube and find more videos and tutorials on flips that you want to learn and analyze their technique, their movements, and what they're telling you to do. But some basic techniques that apply to most flips that you need to be aware of are jumping, blocking, set, and tuck. Jumping is pretty straightforward and you know what that is, but being able to practice your jump and get better at jumping and build more powerful jumps is going to really improve your flips. Blocking is similar to jumping, but it's using momentum to add to your jump so that you're applying more power into your flip and getting more height. And so being able to block will improve a lot of flips where you need to be running or have momentum out of like cartwheels or back handsprings or things like that. And then you have your set. Set is extremely important for almost any flip because this is what's going to help keep your body up in the air instead of going down to the ground. Generally, set refers to having your chest up and your body tall as you're jumping before you tuck, because doing that will keep your center of gravity high instead of dropping down low. And if you're like leaning forward or anything like that, it's going to send you forward or send you down. So set is extremely important to stay tall doing flips. And then you have your tuck. Most flips, when you're first learning them, it's extremely beneficial to learn how to tuck because tucking your body tight into a small ball is going to allow the momentum of the flip to transfer into a smaller point, which means you'll be able to rotate faster. And so there's a variety of tucks. There's grabbing the fronts of your shins, behind the backs of your thighs. It's kind of whatever you feel comfortable depending on the flip you're learning. And even if you aren't grabbing for the tuck, you can still tuck your knees in and just hold a tight center to help you rotate faster. And then as you get better and progress with your flips, you can start adding more styles and flares like layouts and things like that as you develop the technique. And then one other technique to learn that you can apply to flips is spinning. You can simply practice spins on flat ground. The main thing to know about spinning is it's similar in that you do have a set, but instead of setting for like a flip, you're setting for a spin, and most of it comes from your torso and arms, and you're going to want to build momentum to go into the spin, and then once you start the spin, you wrap your body in tight, kind of like a tuck, and that's going to help you spin. So depending on how you're applying that to different types of flips, learning how to spin on flat ground or in general will help you implement them when you're ready to learn those tricks. So you've learned the basic techniques, you know the trick you want to learn, and you're standing over the foam pit or the pad, wherever you're learning, about to try the flip. And this is where the hardest moment in learning flips comes, because we all have fear. We all have fear of getting hurt and injuries and not knowing the outcome of what we're about to do. And so the biggest thing is to have confidence when you know you're going to try it, because confidence is going to help you commit to the flip and do it more successfully. If you have fear, what can happen is you can start to do it and then you can bail out, which can actually increase your risk of getting injured if you're bailing out and not committing to the flip you're trying to learn. So that's just something important to remember, is that you really want to be confident in what you're doing and commit to the flip once you decide to do it and go for it. Another thing I found that helps me kind of overcome the fear to go for flips, to attempt them, is to actually fall on purpose. I found that doing kind of safety falls onto my back or stomach, whatever flip I'm doing, actually makes me feel better about doing the flip, because I realize, oh, it's not so bad falling down or landing like this, so as long as that feels good, it's not so scary. And so sometimes I will just practice a couple falls before actually attempting a new flip or trick, because it helps me feel more safe knowing that doing a fall didn't hurt, so maybe I can do the flip and won't hurt either. So that's something to keep in mind. Again, with falls, you want to do them safely and carefully, because falls can still be dangerous if you land weird, but at least if you're doing it intentionally, you can control the fall and know how you want to fall. The main thing to know when you're doing falls is that you don't ever want to land on appendages. You want to be able to land on kind of your body laid out so that your body is absorbing the impact throughout your body instead of it taking the impact on one point, like your shoulder or your head or your arm. And so when doing falls, you just want to practice being able to control the fall and kind of let the impact be spread throughout your body. Also, knowing how to do recovery falls such as forward rolls and back rolls can help you feel more comfortable and coordinated overall in your body movement and body motions when you actually attempt flips. So now you've attempted your first flip and you feel good doing it. You've done it and you realize you didn't get hurt. You probably didn't do it perfect, but now you can keep practicing and start improving your technique, learning to flip. When practicing the actual flip technique, something I've found is that I try to practice only as long as my body has the energy to do it, because once my body starts getting tired and starts losing the energy, my technique gets worse. And if I start practicing bad technique again, my muscle memory is going to remember that, and it's going to be very likely that I'll do bad technique the next time I come to practice. So I always try to end every training session on a good note. So if I've been working on a flip and I get it better and better, and then I start feeling myself get tired, I end there, I stop there, so that I can end on a positive note, so the next time I come around to practice that flip, it's like I'm starting at the point where I ended last time, so that I can progress from there instead of having to restart all over because I wasn't able to reach a point that I felt confident in the progress I've made. So whenever you're learning new tricks, just remember to keep the session short and end on a good note. After you've made some progress, before you get too tired where your technique slows down, that's how you'll be able to progress the fastest as you practice that trick daily or weekly, however often you're able to practice it. And finally, as you get better and better at flips, it's good to keep in mind that there are exercises you can be doing to help you improve your flips. So jumping is probably the number one thing that's going to influence your flip. So doing plyometrics or any sort of leg workouts that's going to improve your jumping technique is going to be extremely beneficial. The next most beneficial thing to focus on is your core and the torso area, because these muscles here are what's going to influence how fast you can tuck and rotate and hold a flip together. And so being able to build your core muscles through different workouts and exercises that force you to bring your knees to your chest or things like that are going to help you learn how to flip faster. And then the other exercise is doing handstands or push-ups or arm exercises. These aren't necessary for every flip, but they will be beneficial for flips that require your hands, such as front handsprings or cartwheels or back handsprings. So improving your handstand strength and overall pushing strength will definitely help you in learning those types of tricks. And then don't forget flexibility. Being able to increase your flexibility will make it easier to learn some flips, being able to do them easier, get around easier, and you'll be able to add more flair and style by having increased flexibility and prevent injuries. So be sure to do a proper amount of stretching before and after learning flips so that you can increase your flexibility and overall control learning flips. So you've done it. You finally learned your first few flips onto padding and you're ready to start taking them outside. Like I mentioned before, if you want to start taking flips outside, think about different environments that are safer than others. And before you take any flip outside, you want to be extremely confident in your flip where you've gotten it consistently in the gym or on pads so that you know you're not going to mess up or fall and get an injury, because the harder the surface, the harder you're going to hit and the increased chance there is of getting an injury. But remember, with all of this, to progress slowly, to take your time, to practice, because an injury isn't worth it. This is something you want to be able to do in the long run, and if you train correctly, you'll be able to do it in the long run. I've been doing it 11 years and I've never broken any bone. I have had injuries like rolled ankles and things like that, but no serious injuries because I've trained progressively. I've put a lot of effort into training in a gym or on pads before I tried doing anything outside or on a harder surface or environment. So there's your basic overview for starting to learn flips. I have a large library of tutorials on a variety of different flips and tricks that you can start learning, so be sure to check out that playlist. But otherwise, remember to train safe and to have fun in your training. And if you have any additional questions about learning flips or any flips specifically you'd like me to do tutorials on, then be sure to let me know in the comments. But otherwise, as always, thank you for watching.